The uprising in Iran is escalating as pro-freedom Iranians are getting closer to removing the Islamic occupiers. But what does this actually mean to Britain and the Western world? Hello everybody, welcome to the channel that challenges the mainstream media and the political establishment, from the left-wing nutters to the globalist elite. And now, today, we are giving you another update on the Iranian uprising. Of course, there are a number of events happening around the world. A lot of events, international conflicts or whatever happens, it doesn't really affect us. It's none of our business. We shouldn't get involved, or we shouldn't even really bother interfering in any sense, but of course it's good to know. But when it comes to what's going on in a country like Iran, it is absolutely our business to know what's going on, but still doesn't mean that we have to do any sort of intervention. People in Iran have been very clear that they do not want any foreign intervention, but they do want foreign support. They want us to be their voice. Now, this is a very pro-liberty revolution. This is anti, of course, Islamism, considering that about 35%, 30 to 35% of the Iranians are Muslim. The rest of them are not. So this has been an occupation anyway, but also this is an anti-globalist uprising as well. They're also going against the whole of the structure, the global model that we have that's created this post-1979 Iran. One issue is the currency. Now, of course, Iran's currency is linked to the international model, which is the fiat currency and the dollar being backed up by dollar. Now, Iran's currency is now dropped to all-time low during the 4 months of the anti-regime uprising. This is simply because, of course, when you've had the sanctions, that's actually definitely helped to bring down the economy, and people have been supporting it. People have actually in Iran have been supporting President Trump and over the Democrats, because Trump didn't really want foreign intervention in that sense, but he knew that you can't have the Iran deal on the table. You need to have sanctions, and people were willing to sacrifice their everyday lives in order to bring down the regime. But the currency is going down because people decided to go against the global consensus of how money works. They're also very cautious about what's going to happen in the future when Iran becomes free. They are very much against the cashless society that we talk about in the West. They're very much against digitalization of money and, of course, the infrastructure around it. That's why they've been withdrawing all their cash from banks. Banks are losing money. They're running out of cash, and this is causing a lot of trouble. And now, of course, China and Iran, who go hand in hand as best friends. China decided to create another base in the south of Iran by Persian Gulf. And of course, the Arab countries are not too happy about this because they have their own relationship with China, some of them. But in reality, it is still in the interest of the Western globalists for the Islamic Republic to remain in power. There is no appetite for the West to help the Iranian people because, on the one hand, if Iran remains a weak enemy, it's better that way, isn't it, for them, for the globalists, for the WF types? Because on the one hand, you're going to have Saudi Arabia dominating the oil industry. On the other hand, you're going to have Qatar dominating the gas industry. And UAE, as I always said, are that middle child of the Middle East who are buying Iran's oil and then they're selling it via third party to the West. So we are still buying Iran's oil despite the sanctions because of UAE. So the model is working for the globalists who want to get more money. But things are changing. The regime are getting desperate. But the numbers that they have given, they said over 500 Iranians have lost their lives. But in fact, usually you have to times that by 2 or 3 when it comes to the numbers coming out of Iran. And now at the same time, Soleimani, he was taken out by President Trump a few years ago. His successor has now threatened to target all dissident journalists. Now, this is desperation. Now, of course, they are going after every protester and everybody who's speaking out, even outside of Iran. Can't really get into details, but even someone like me would go into trouble for speaking out. But it doesn't really matter. We have to fight for freedom. This is about making sure that we are there when the time comes. Because when Iran becomes free, that's a key, an essential date for the future of the global consensus. Because if the wrong people try to influence and infiltrate, then we're going to lose the whole of the agenda. If it goes towards more globalism, which it won't, because the Iranians have been very smart about this, but we can't be complacent, because you're going to have vested interests going in there, try to help them, and to cause actually more trouble. This is going to be a key point, because if you have Iran as a democratic, secular democracy and a liberal democracy in that country, in that region, alongside their ally Israel, the historic ally for the past 43 years, there was a pause in that relationship, and everything completely changed. But things could become better. We can stand up to Saudi, we can stand up to Qatar, we can stand up to all the nutters around Lebanon and Jordan, all the Hamas and Hezbollah supporters. The funding will stop, obviously. But if we're not careful, then we're going to lose more of our interest. And if we want to actually go towards a world where the West finally starts looking after their own people, America, look after America, America first, and in this country, the British government looking after Britain and British people, instead of just opening our doors to nutters, then this is the best way to do it. Now, we have to also be careful that after this revolution, we are not going to invite any of the Islamic regime officials. Do not do it. Do not create a home for the nutters in London, for example, the way they've done it in Paris, the way they've done it in Canada, and even in this country in the past. This is going to be a very, very tricky situation, but we'll keep you guys up to date with what's going on in Iran. We're going to have more updates for you guys on this channel every half an hour. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.